Ecuadorians have voted to stop oil drilling in the Yasuni National Park, one of the most biodiverse places on the planet, which is part of the Amazon rainforest. The Ecuadorian state oil company has been drilling in the park since 2016, producing tens of thousands of barrels a day. CNN's Rafael Romo is in Ecuador with more on the park and the vote.
Yasuni National Park, Ecuador. A sprawling 2.5 million acres or 1 million hectares in the Amazon rainforest, a UNESCO biosphere reserve. One of the most biodiverse places on Earth, as well as indigenous tribes living in voluntary isolation. But Yasuni is also an area rich in oil, especially one section of the park known as Block 43, with revenue-earning potential the government wanted to control. It was an environmental dilemma for an oil-producing country, a dilemma voters faced in last Sunday's vote. In the end, nearly 6 out of every 10 voters chose to protect the Yasuni. We have saved the greatest biodiversity that has been recognized nationally and internationally, the leader of one of Yasuni's indigenous communities said.
El Yasuní seguirá viviendo.
In 2007, then-President Rafael Correa proposed the international community give Ecuador $3.6 billion to leave Yasuni undisturbed, but the plan failed. In 2016, the Ecuadorian state oil company began drilling in Block 43, an area that is only 0.01% of the national park, but produces more than 55,000 barrels a day, or 12% of Ecuador's total production. Over the last decade, environmental groups pushed for a referendum to protect the Yasuni, collecting signatures to comply with legal requirements. Last September, Ecuador's electoral court here in Quito finally ruled that 750,000 signatures collected 8 years before were valid. That paved the way for the referendum that Yasunidos, an environmental group, had been calling for. The group says the oil must be kept underground and the Amazon rainforest untouched. Celebrities joined their cause, including Leonardo DiCaprio, who called the Yasuni a global biodiversity hotspot. The people and wildlife living here are threatened by the fossil fuel industry, he added.
Va a ser catastrófico.
But Ecuadorian Energy Minister Fernando Santos said earlier this month that depriving his country of the funding generated at Yasuni would be, quote, catastrophic. Santos estimates Ecuador could lose $1.2 billion a year in revenue, assuming a price of $60 per barrel. The energy minister said oil in the Yasuni could last another 25 years. Some voters agreed that Ecuador should continue tapping its largest oil reserve.
El Ecuador necesita de estos recursos para salir adelante.
Ecuador needs those resources to make ends meet, this voter said. But most were convinced by environmentalists who say preserving the Amazon is more important than any money that could be made by drilling in one of the richest ecosystems in the planet. Rafael Romo, CNN, Quito, Ecuador.